It's late. The clock strikes midnight, and all you can hear is the beating of your own heart. You're alone, or at least you think you are. Welcome to the Haunted Hour. In tonight's stories, 3 individuals find themselves trapped in a nightmare, facing terror in places they thought were safe. Will they survive the night, or will they become a part of the darkness that haunts them? Let's begin. Story 1. Have you ever been alone in your own house and suddenly felt like you weren't? That's what happened to me, and I barely made it out alive. It was the first week of December, a quiet Wednesday evening. My parents had gone out of town for a wedding, and I had the house all to myself. At 19, I was used to being home alone, and honestly, I kind of enjoyed the peace. It was around 9 p.m. when I locked up, made some popcorn, and settled in for a horror movie marathon. I remember laughing at how ridiculous the characters were, ignoring obvious red flags, splitting up, running upstairs instead of outside. If only I knew how real horror felt. Halfway through my second movie, I heard a faint scratching noise. It came from the back door, near the kitchen. My first thought? The wind, or maybe a stray cat. I ignored it. Then, my phone buzzed with a notification from my security app. Back door, motion detected. My stomach dropped. The security light had turned on, but when I checked the camera feed, there was nothing there. Maybe it was just a glitch. I brushed it off and locked the back door just in case. But that's when I noticed the chain lock was unhooked. I was sure I had locked it earlier. My fingers hesitated before fastening it again. An uneasy feeling settled in, but I convinced myself I was just being paranoid. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Living room. I froze. I was in my bedroom. The living room was downstairs. My breath hitched as I tapped the camera feed. The screen loaded, and for a second I thought I saw something move, a dark shape disappearing out of frame. My heart pounded in my ears. Was someone inside my house? Then I heard it, a soft, deliberate creak on the staircase. I muted the TV and sat frozen in my bed, gripping my phone. Another creak, closer this time. My mind raced. Should I run? Call the cops? I decided to text my parents first. I think someone's in the house. The moment I hit send, my phone buzzed again. Another motion alert, this time from inside my room. My breath hitched as I slowly turned my head toward the closet. The door was open. It had been closed before. I was sure of it. I reached for the lamp, but before I could switch it on, a hand shot out from the darkness. I screamed, kicking backward off my bed as a figure lunged toward me. My phone hit the ground, the screen cracking. My only light source was the glow from the hallway, and in that dim light, I saw him. A man, dressed in black, standing in my bedroom. His breathing was heavy, slow, deliberate. I scrambled to my feet, heart hammering. He took a step closer, blocking the doorway. I was trapped. Then, suddenly, the sound of sirens. Blinding red and blue lights flashed through my window. My parents, they had seen my text and called 911. The man bolted for the window, throwing it open. By the time the police burst through the front door, he was gone, just vanished into the night. The officers searched every inch of the house. No sign of forced entry, nothing stolen, no fingerprints. But in my closet, they found something far worse. A sleeping bag, empty food wrappers, a small, rusted knife. He had been living in my house for days. The police never found him. They said he likely came in through an unlocked basement window. But here's what keeps me up at night. That security alert, the one that said motion detected. Living room? The timestamp was from the night before. I had spent an entire day eating, sleeping, watching TV while he was already inside. And I never even knew. I still don't sleep with the lights off. And I always check the closet before going to bed. Because sometimes the real horror isn't what's outside. Story 2. Do you believe that some places remember? That even after people are gone, something lingers? I didn't. Not until I spent one winter alone in a place that should have been empty. A place that should have been forgotten. But it wasn't. I still don't know what I saw that night. I don't even know if it was real. But I do know this. I was not alone. It started with a mistake. A stupid, impulsive decision. I was exhausted from city life, drowning in deadlines, emails, and noise. So when I saw an online listing for a remote winter cabin rental in Colorado, I jumped on it. A whole week of solitude, surrounded by snow-covered mountains. No people, no distractions, just peace. The photos look perfect, rustic, cozy, untouched by time. But the price? Too cheap. I should have questioned that. I should have asked why, but I didn't. I packed my things, booked my flight, and by December 19th, 2022, I was driving through an endless stretch of snow-covered trees. The last town before my destination, Cold Hollow, was unsettlingly quiet. Barely any people. Just a single gas station and a diner that looked like it hadn't seen new customers in years. As I filled my tank, the gas station clerk, a man in his 60s, stared at me. "You staying up there alone?" he asked, hesitating as he handed me my change. I nodded. He didn't say anything else. But as I walked away, I swear I heard him mumble something under his breath. Something like, "Not again." By the time I reached the cabin, the sun was already setting. It was more isolated than I expected. The nearest house? Miles away. No cell service. No Wi-Fi. Just me, a wood-burning stove, and the endless stretch of white, untouched snow. As I stepped onto the porch, the wooden planks groaned beneath my boots. I unlocked the door, pushed it open, and froze. The inside smelled off, like rotting wood and something metallic. But what unsettled me the most, there were footprints in the dust. Not mine, bare feet, leading from the back door to the bedroom. I stood there, gripping my bag. The air was too still. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe the owner had checked in earlier. Maybe it was a trick of the light. I shook it off, brought my bags inside, and locked the door behind me. The first night was uneventful. Mostly. Except the dream. I dreamed of something standing at the foot of my bed. A shadow tall, thin, its fingers too long. It didn't move. It just watched. When I woke up, my bedroom door was open. I swore I had closed it. The next night, I heard scratching. Faint, rhythmic, coming from the attic. I didn't even know the cabin had an attic. I should have left then, but I didn't. I told myself it was an animal, a raccoon, a bird. I grabbed a flashlight and pulled down the attic ladder. The air up there was thick, stale, suffocating. My light flickered as I swept it across the cramped space. Something was there, a pile of old blankets, and sticking out from beneath them, a single bare foot. I ran. I locked my bedroom door that night, but it didn't matter, because at exactly 3:13 a.m., I woke up to the sound of my bedroom door slowly creaking open. The next morning, I drove back to Cold Hollow. I wasn't leaving just yet. I needed answers. The gas station clerk was still there. This time, he wasn't just staring. He looked worried. "You saw it, didn't you?" he asked. I didn't respond. He sighed, then told me the story. That cabin shouldn't be rented out. Years ago, a man named David Holloway stayed there. Alone. Same as you. He went missing. When the cops checked the cabin, they found his things, his journal, but no sign of him. They checked the attic? I asked. He nodded. Found his skin, hung up like a suit, but his body? Never found. I left immediately. Drove back to the cabin, packed my bags. But I made one mistake. I went to the attic, just to check. The pile of blankets was still there. But this time it was different. This time it wasn't a foot sticking out. It was a face. My face. A rotting, hollowed out version of me. I don't remember running. I don't remember starting the car. But I remember the voice. As I sped away, I heard it. A whisper, barely audible, seeping through the walls. Not again. I never told anyone what happened. But when I checked my phone the next morning, I had a new photo in my gallery. It was taken at 3:13 a.m. A picture of me, asleep in bed, with the bedroom door wide open. Story 3. Have you ever been the last person to leave your office? The silence, the way the air feels heavier. The creeping feeling that someone's still there. I used to think I was just being paranoid, until the night I realized I wasn't alone. It was December 9th, 2022. I worked as a junior accountant in a corporate office in New York City. The job was boring, but paid well. The office? A sleek, modern building on the 14th floor. That night, I had stayed late to finish up reports for a client. It was almost 11:15 p.m., later than usual. Most of my co-workers had left by 7 p.m. By 9 p.m., even my boss was gone. And by 10 p.m., I was completely alone. At least, that's what I thought. I was at my desk, finishing up an expense report, when I heard it. A soft rustling sound. I looked up. All the cubicles were empty. The office was dimly lit, just a few emergency lights glowing. I brushed it off, probably just the AC kicking in. But then, the printer turned on, out of nowhere. A single sheet of paper slid out. I frowned, confused. I hadn't printed anything. I walked over, picked up the paper. There were just 2 words on it. Turn around. My heart stopped. I spun around, expecting to see someone. Nothing. The office was still. Too still. I tried to laugh it off. Maybe a printer error? Maybe someone queued a print job earlier? But as I stood there, my stomach tightened, because that wasn't my printer. It was from Daniel's desk, and Daniel had been out sick all week. I grabbed my phone to call security. No signal. I switched to the office landline dead. The Wi-Fi. Gone. That's when I heard it. A chair rolling on the other side of the office. I turned, my breath hitching. One of the cubicle chairs was slowly spinning. I hadn't touched it, and I wasn't imagining it. The nightmare unfolds. I decided, screw this, I'm leaving. I grabbed my bag and sprinted toward the exit. But when I reached the glass doors, they wouldn't open. I swiped my key card. Nothing. I banged on the glass, calling for security. Then my computer screen flickered on. A document had been opened. For words typed out in bold. You're not going anywhere. My blood ran cold. I wasn't alone. Someone had been watching me. I whipped around, and that's when I saw it. A shadowy figure, standing near the break room. Tall. Still. Watching me. My first instinct was to run to the stairwell. But as soon as I took a step, the office lights cut out. The only light came from my computer screen, and in that glow, I saw them move. Fast. Coming straight for me. I grabbed the stapler from my desk, ready to swing. But by the time I turned, they were gone. Just vanished. But then I heard something, breathing, right behind me. I bolted, darting past desks, knocking over chairs, my pulse thundering in my ears. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get out. I made it to the stairwell, yanked the door open, and saw him. A man, middle-aged, wide, unblinking eyes, dirty clothes, standing in the stairwell. holding a knife. I froze. He tilted his head, smiled, and whispered, "You stayed late tonight." I slammed the door shut. Heart hammering, I turned and sprinted back into the office. I ran to the window, the only way out. Without thinking, I grabbed my desk chair and smashed it against the glass. Nothing. The glass wouldn't break. Then, I heard footsteps behind me. Heavy, getting closer. I turned, and he was gone. Security found me locked in the supply closet an hour later. I had no memory of going in there. My keycard history showed that someone disabled my access at 10:45 p.m. There were no security camera recordings. The system had been wiped. The police searched the building. They found something. Inside the air vents, there was a makeshift bed, food wrappers, and a Polaroid picture of me sleeping at my desk. There was a note on the back. It said, "See you tomorrow." The night is long, and the horrors are endless. If you enjoyed this tale, there are many more waiting in the shadows. Subscribe to the Haunted Hour and become part of the darkness. Turn on notifications, because you never know when the next nightmare will begin. Sleep tight if you can,